Childhood trauma can impact our mental health in more ways than one. Welcome to another episode of the Mental Health Break. Nichol Mills joins me today to talk about how her own childhood trauma impacted her current parenting with her own children. Hi, I'm Dr. Nafisa Sikandri, a licensed clinical psychologist specializing in anxiety-based disorders. I created the Mental Health Break podcast to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you prioritize your mental health. Mental illness can cost you time and money. Ignoring your symptoms will only make the problems worse. Taking time out of your busy day to dedicate to improving your mental health can lead to long-term health and wellness. In this podcast, each week you'll learn tips, tricks, and proven strategies to help you regain control of your life, all while prioritizing your mental health. If you want to improve your life, regain control of your mental health, and feel empowered, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Today's episode is brought to you by the Transforming Anxiety course, an online, self-paced anxiety course to help you manage and control your anxiety from the comfort, privacy, and convenience of your own home. Learn how to transform your anxiety in just 6 short weeks. Course registration is now open. To learn more, visit transforminganxiety.com/course. I'm excited to talk to Nichol Mills today about parenting and childhood trauma. Let me briefly introduce her before I bring her on. Nichol Mills is an inquisitive, lifelong learner with a passion for knowledge that has taken her down many diverse paths. She has studied fashion, comedy, makeup, and even car repair with a diverse career ranging from supply chain industry to coaching. Nichol holds a bachelor's degree in psychology. She's also a member, facilitator, and coach with the Trauma Incident Reduction Association in the field of metapsychology. She facilitates the reduction of stress associated with traumas, specifically childhood trauma. She also coaches clients with the goal of tapping into the unique person that God has created them to be and to develop their talents and skills by helping clients to connect the dots of their past with their future. A native Washingtonian, Nichol likes to say that life is a daring adventure or nothing at all. She chooses the adventure. A mother of 2, she encourages her children to grow, learn, and stretch themselves to their highest potential while providing strategies to help her children process their feelings. Nichol has been mentoring teens since 2013. She has learned the freedom and the joy that comes from being your authentic self and allowing the true you to show up and serve the world. Hi, Nichol. Thank you so much for joining me and being a part of this conversation today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor to be invited, and we're in the same movement, the same journey to release and reduce anxiety and help people to process their daily life stressors.
Definitely. I just shared a little bit about your background. I mean, being a comedian and a coach, and can you tell me, I mean, you've had a pretty diverse career, but can you tell me a little bit more about yourself? And then how do you combine your various talents in your work?
Well, comedy is just me. That is just who I am. I love to laugh, no matter if I'm at church or I'm coaching or I'm speaking, presenting, we're going to have a good time because there's so many things that we need to be serious about. But if we can find some joy, some lighthearted moment, I love it. And I've been doing comedy. I've always been like the class clown and always telling jokes and things like that. I've been doing that since like the 3rd grade. And I've always had a fear. I've always had anxiety around, will I be accepted? Will I be validated? And in 2016, I threw caution to the wind and I did stand up for like, I want to say like a year, 2 years, something like that. But my schedule wouldn't allow me to continue with that.
Wow, 2 years of stand-up. I mean, talk about a way to get over your fear of public speaking.
Yes. But you just get up there and I mean, I've always been funny. I don't know if I've been like a killer comedian or anything like that. I definitely wouldn't say that, but I always wanted to like be a person like in a bar or a stand-up club and be silently whispering on the mic and people be saying, that person's funny. Where are they coming from? But not show my face. But
That's hilarious.
I just got up there and just did it. And it wasn't a big thing because once I turned, I think my mid-30s, I had a midlife epiphany. Some people say crisis. I had epiphany. And I decided that I do have things to bring to the table. I work in an all male environment, and it's a blue collar industry. So a lot of people, and I work in the supply chain field by day. I'm a receiving inspector. And so all of my coworkers and colleagues, they would work on cars on the side and make extra money. They would be plumbers doing plumbing work on the side, and all of these different hands-on fields. And I didn't even know how to braid hair. And I was like, I can't do anything. And then I found out I have soft skills. People listen to me. People come to me and tell me their problems. So I
Yeah.
started, of course, I got coached once I had the epiphany to see what the blocks were and different things like that. And as a result of the coaching, that's when I did the comedy. And I realized that I had so much more to bring to the table that was just as valuable, if not more, than plumbing or carpentry or heating and air conditioning.
Well, it's amazing that you work with so many hustlers that, I mean, that have side hustles and that they inspired you. Not a lot of people have that, or they not even think about, I can do something else besides my full-time job, right?
Right. Or take the specialty from your full-time job and use that to get paid, not from the company, but directly to yourself.
Definitely. So I know I reached out to you after listening to you on Clubhouse. I'm no longer on Clubhouse, but I loved what you had to say about parenting and dealing with childhood trauma. Can you tell me about your experience and then how you've dealt with your past and then how it's helped you impact your role as a parent?
So when I was younger, my mom, she had me when she was about 15. So when she had me, I didn't realize any of the circumstances regarding how I was born or anything like that. But years later, I found out through a coworker that I was born out of rape. So when I talked to my mother about it, she deflected and said, no, that's not true. You know, your father and I were boyfriend and girlfriend, and one or two of the times may have been forced, but that doesn't mean you were born out of rape. So I let it go. Everything was, okay, I guess. And then she wrote this book. And the book has this really long title. The events of my life are my proof that God exists or is real or something like that. So when I read the first chapter, I reported back, man, I really liked your book. It was so great. It was funny. It was this, it was that. I read the second chapter. Oh my gosh, I knew a lot of these stories, but some of these details I didn't know. When I got to chapter 3, it said, February 22nd was the worst day of my life. And that was my birthday. So I put 2 and 2 together. And then the events surrounding my birth, she said, well, I don't want to get into how I became pregnant. Let's just say it was a bad ordeal or something along those lines. It wasn't too hard to decode. But in about so initially I stopped talking to her about that. And a few years later, I started doing trauma incident reduction. And I realized, wow, because the way trauma incident reduction works is you're not interrupted when you're talking about your life events. You're not interrupted if you've experienced a rape, if you've experienced a fire or some sort of trauma. And it doesn't have to be childhood trauma. It can be any trauma. But usually we push it down, we suppress it, we don't talk about it. Or we go to a therapist, we talk about it maybe once or twice, or it gets listed on the case plan, but it doesn't fully get out of your system. But with trauma incident reduction, we talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. I ask you a series of, if we can, the goal is to release the emotional charge or emotional discharge. If we can reduce the charge associated with that in one question, all the way up to 20 questions. And all of the questions are similar, but they're not the same. So if there's anything else you want to talk about, is there anything that has been suppressed regarding this issue? And all the way down the line. So we unlayer it because it's kind of like an onion. So as you unlayer it, you get a different viewpoint, a different perspective of what actually happened. Okay, my mother wasn't mad. She was just frustrated and overwhelmed. My mother wasn't this and that. So when I read the book, it showed me why I operate the way that I operate. Why am I so compassionate? Why do I want to help people? What is my why? And then when I started doing trauma incident reduction, I realized that I have a need to keep up with all of this information because as a child, I was told I was dumb or stupid or something like that. And my mother wasn't really a mom until I probably got a teenager. But when I was a child, she was more like a big sister, like a mean big sister. She would tease me and laugh at me and push me and just like prank me and just other little stupid stuff when I was a child. And when I got older, I was like, why do I have to take so many notes out? And that's what my Instagram is called. It's called Nick's Notes because everywhere I go, I take copious notes. I got to recite everything and review everything and make sure I have enough information so that I don't look stupid, look dumb, embarrass myself, or anything of the like. Even though I have a lot of evidence to prove that I'm not only smart, but I also have wisdom. But with that, epiphany from trauma incident reduction, I realized, wow, this is why I've constantly been pursuing information because I wanted to make up the difference of being told that I wasn't smart.
Wow, what a story. I mean, your mom had her own trauma, and then she probably, without meaning to, pass it on to you. Now, you said your mom used to tease you. Do you think it had to do with the fact that on your birthday, that's the worst day of her life? You've been born out of rape. And do you think she kind of took out that anger and frustration on you growing up?
Absolutely. I look exactly like my father. And then as I got older and I started connecting a little bit of the dots. When I was younger, I just remember her teasing me and her not really being my advocate. If someone said I did something, she wouldn't stand up for me or anything like that. But as I got older, then I realized that this is a silent competition. And sometimes people can be in competition with you and still lose. So after I got my degree, she got her degree, or she's working towards her degree. I opened my business in 2017. In 2018, she opened a business. I was talking about writing a book, but I didn't write it yet. She wrote a book. So just different things. And I usher in her success where she withholds information from me. And we still have a good relationship simply because I realized to control the controllables. The Serenity Prayer says to control what you can control. There are things that you can't control, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'm summarizing, but I realize I can't control her. I can control my behavior, and I can control my reactions, and I control being enrolled in what she's doing, what she's saying, and not just the relationship with my mom, but anywhere with anyone. If it's uncomfortable, if there's discomfort, I need to remove myself.
Well, with somebody like your mom who's in silent competition, boundaries are super important. I mean, are you learning about boundaries and how firmly to set them? Because, like you said, you can't really control what she says and does, but you can control your own self and what you're willing to tolerate.
Yes, yes. I set boundaries, but they're kind of grayed because I work during the day. So my daughter goes over my mom's house during the day so that she could do her distance learning. And then I pick up my daughter when I get home. But I've even cut back some of the days so she doesn't go every day. Now she just goes a couple days a week. And, I deprogram my daughter if need be. But my daughter, she's really smart. She's 8 and she's picking up things and seeing things. But yeah, I don't spend my life anymore trying to please her or trying to get her validation and affirmation. I don't need that. And I'm just so grateful because had I not had the mom that I have, I wouldn't be who I am. All of these things deposited in me, the way that she treated me contributed to me having more compassion, being a parenting coach, explaining to parents the importance of connecting with your children, getting into their world, learning what they like, showing them what you've done, mistakes that you've made, modeling for them, learning their love language, just communicating with them, who are their friends, What kind of music do they like? What do they laugh at? Are they looking at dark horror movies? Different things like that.
Your story reminds me a lot about Oprah. She shared her story last year when we went to see her live, and she talked about her mom dying and how she had such a hard time saying goodbye to her. And she had a lot of anger about the past. And then somehow it all came together one day where she realized if her mom wasn't the mom that she was, she was hardly involved in Oprah's life. She didn't really raise her directly. Oprah was passed around from home to home. But she said if her mom wasn't that way, she wouldn't be Oprah. She wouldn't be the person she is today, because her mom was a servant, and she could have raised Oprah to be a servant and not achieve for any more, right? But because of what Oprah went through, because of what she saw and experienced, she finally was at peace on her mom's deathbed and actually thanked her for being the kind of mom she was, because it really gave her the courage and the strength to be who she was. Obviously, she didn't have the mom she wanted. She didn't have the
Right.
mothering that she needed. And that's a lot of us walk around very wounded because we didn't get the mothering that we wanted. But if we can channel that and turn it like what you've done and turn it into something that makes you a better mother. So how have you used what you didn't get, I guess, and how do you use that to parent your own children?
First, let me say this. Anything that we perceive that we don't get, we still get. I didn't get the mothering that I needed from my own natural birth mother, but I've always gravitated to women that were in their 50s and um, just women with like the motherly instinct or around my mom's age. So whatever my mother did not give me was because she could not provide it. She wasn't able to be nurturing because that's not her personality, that's not her makeup. So that's completely fine. But I've turned it around with my children. I have a 22-year-old and I have an 8-year-old. And so we have family dinners every night at 6:30 with no electronics. We talk about each other's day. What did you learn today? What did you laugh at today? How did you help someone today? Is there anything that you were afraid of today? How did you also conquer your fear? And we just have dialogue about different things. Tell me about your friends. And I just create an environment where you can say what you want to say and we can, hash it out. I want to know you. I want to know about your day. And we've been doing this since my son was about, I want to say 3, maybe even more than that. But I know I graduated college when he was 3. So a lot of my time freed up. But just to be there for them to know that they're heard. Whenever I would communicate my feelings to my mom, she would always say, well, I did the best I could. I had you when I was 14. And just kind of sort of give me pseudo guilt about what I was feeling.
And that's what a lot of people that end up becoming resilient and emotionally and mentally healthy do have at least one person. Like that's the protective factor for people that have gone through trauma, to have one person that believes in them, that cares about them, that could be a grandparent, that could be random people in church, that could be random people in your neighborhood that are parenting you in a way that isn't necessarily from your biological mother. And it sounds like you had that, which is amazing. And how you've channeled all that to be a good mom to your kids is wonderful. It's great to hear that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It's been wonderful. It has been. I met one woman when I was about 23, and we're still friends. If I need her in the middle of the night, she will come. When I was in the hospital with a blood clot, I called my mom because I needed someone to pick my son up. And my mother said, well, I'm not a doctor. What do you want me to do? And I was saying, well, I'm just in the hospital and I don't know what's going on. I have a blood clot and they said it's traveling. So I don't know if I'm dying. I don't know what's going on. I'm just letting you know what's going on. And so when I told my friend, and her and I worked together, she dropped everything, even her own kids. And she stayed with me in the hospital until like 2 a.m. And she had to go to work at 6 the next morning. And then she left, she went to work, and then she came back after she got off just to like support me and make sure that I was calm and not nervous or anything. So I look at my mother and I'm just so happy for the way that I am. I'm very vulnerable. I'm very relational, authentic, transparent. Um, I am kind of funny. I mean, it's not going to show up here. If you look for it under the Christmas tree, it won't be there. But
It's not that kind
normally,
of show.
no, it's not that kind of show. But in my normal everyday life, I try to pepper humor into everything. So I like the complexity of who I am. And it took me a long time. Like I would feel bad about crying all the time because my mother would sing this song, Cry Baby. And she would just keep singing it until I cried more and more. And I remember that song. And so I just always apologize if I'm crying for whatever the reason is. I always apologize. But it's who I am. If God didn't want that in me, he wouldn't have put that part in.
There's a book called Will I Ever Be Good Enough by Dr. McBride. And I recommend that to a lot of my patients who have similar experiences with their mom like you do. I mean, obviously, yes, your mom was 14 when she was raped and she did the best she could. It's not about bashing your mom, but it's about really identifying what the reality was. The reality was you were an innocent little girl that had no idea what happened. It wasn't your fault that that happened and that you were born. You needed to be nurtured and cared for regardless of what happened, but your mom didn't have it in her. She didn't have what it needed to happen. She didn't have what it took to give you the kind of love and support that you needed. But a lot of people, because they didn't get that from their moms, they internalize and think that there's something wrong with them. They're damaged goods because their mom couldn't love them. It's really important. The book is so powerful and it's so important to understand that it had nothing to do with you. Your mom just wasn't able to give you what you needed. To this day, she's not able to give you what you need.
Right. Right. And I see that with my nephew, my daughter. I just see that how she is versus how I am. And I'm amazing. And my mother told me I'm too conceited. And I was like, well, take it or leave it.
How is your mom with your kids and her grandkids?
Well, she doesn't have to engage with them all day, every day. So she's kind of different, but still in a lot of ways the same. She has to tackle her own healing. And anything that Nichol A. Mills suggests, she rejects.
But
So,
a lot of time, people like your mom, whether it's because of trauma or genetics or whatever, they don't have the insight to see the problem. They are very externally focused that it's everybody else's problem and not theirs. And if you don't have insight into your problems, and this is why you're better off and that you knew it was hurting and you transformed it and changed it, where your mom is happy just saying, I did the best I could, and that's enough without apologizing or without thinking, I wasn't a very good mom to Nichol. Let me be a better grandparent to my grandkids. If you don't have insight, you can't really say anything like that.
well, she believes that she's a better grandparent, and she has a entrepreneurial group, and she, I guess, expressed a lot of guilt to them, and they said that you don't need to beat yourself up. What is done is done. Move on with your life. Everyone makes mistakes. The past is the past, and sometimes I'll talk to my mother and she'll believe that I'm reverting back to past experiences that different times that she broke my heart as a child or different things like that. My son is 22. She went to one of his birthday parties, and that was because it was at her house because I had to work evening shift and I wanted to get him a cake before I went to work because we would celebrate his birthday on the weekend. My daughter is 8 and her birthday was April the 16th. She has never come to any of her parties. I've done numerous speaking engagements. She has never come to any of that. And at first I would be upset, but it's fine. I don't even invite her anymore. And I could take the focus and shift it on to who's not showing up and who's not being here. But I'm out of the scarcity mindset of holding on to what's not there. And I'm into abundance. Who is there? Who is supporting me? And I tell a lot of people that I coach, especially speakers, instead of focusing on the one person that comments a negative comment or one person, what about the hundreds of people that you're helping? What about the thousands of listeners when this video is replayed or when your speaking engagement is distributed amongst other people? You're focusing on the one bad comment or the one critic. set up some automatic system where nobody can comment at all. That way it won't be good or bad. If that's what it takes.
Or like you said, focus on the abundance mindset. Focus on who was there, who's meant to be there, who's supporting you, who's saying the positives instead of narrowing in on the 1% that's maybe bashing yours or not liking your content. The reality is not everybody's going to like us. I mean, talk about how vulnerable you had to be to stand up and do comedy when there's a lot of hecklers in the audience, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you focus on that, you never say a word.
Right. And I did that for, I want to say 35 years. So when it came time for me to get on the stage, it really didn't matter what they were going to say. I'm already up here now. And so like I said about the midlife epiphany, I made a list of everything that I was scared to do, everything that I was afraid to do. And I just checked it off, and just start doing those things. And then there comes a point where I might get a teeny bit of nervousness, but I go back to that list and look at things that are checked off. And, wow, I did that. Oh my gosh, I did that. So it helps me to recall. And I tell all my clients to recall past victories and think about, like, go through in your mind, how did you feel when you were approaching this difficult event or circumstance? How did you feel in the middle? How did you feel when you kicked this butt?
I grew up very anxious and debilitatingly shy as a teenager. So I know I did the same thing. My epiphany was at 19 when I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 20 years old soon. And I don't want to be debilitated by fear anymore. So I put myself into a lot of situations that were terrifying, like taking drama and having to get on stage and do my monologues. So terrifying. I did put myself in a lot of difficult situations just so that I can overcome my fears by the time I was 20. And it made a huge difference. It showed me what I was capable of. Obviously, it's not like I was fearless after that. It's just I knew I could get over it. I can survive it. I can put myself through it and continue to grow and give myself permission for that. Exactly like you put yourself in those situations and see what you're capable of.
Yes, we get comfortable being comfortable and we avoid discomfort. We avoid nervousness, but those challenges build our character. So as long as we avoid them, we'll be like an inhibited butterfly. When someone cuts the cocoon and they're deformed, you got to let them struggle and build their wingspan up so that they can get out of that cocoon. So yeah, I try to put myself in a lot of uncomfortable situations. And one of the key things I do, and this is probably crazy, but I say yes to everything. I say yes to everything, and I say yes to everything right away. Even if it's something that I should be nervous. Now, if it's picking somebody up from the airport late at night, maybe not that. But anything with a chance to build my character, I just say yes.
Well, there's that movie where the guy just ends up saying yes, and then it expands his world, right? I don't know. I forgot what the movie was. Maybe Jim Carrey was in it. Um, but it's about putting yourself in uncomfortable positions because it's through that discomfort that you grow. You're not going to grow. If you're afraid of criticism, if you're afraid of negative feedback, if you're afraid, then you're not going to do anything. I mean, the only way to not get criticism and negative feedback or any negative experiences is by not doing absolutely anything, just keeping yourself locked in your house and just living a very small, tiny life. But it's when we put ourselves out there that we know we might fall flat on our face and make a huge fool of ourselves. But that's okay because we will learn and we realize, that wasn't that bad. It was embarrassing, but I got over it.
Right. I was listening to TD Jakes a couple of years, and he may not be the originator of this colloquialism, but he said, when people give you criticism, take the meat and spit out the bones. Meaning your mom is going to give you a different kind of criticism depending on what kind of mom you have versus a hater. A hater is not going to sugarcoat anything. They're not going to care about your feelings. But if you listen to what the hater says, you can find improvements, but you just don't need to internalize it. So if someone says something, take the meat. That's the thing that's useful. That's what you can use, nutrients, and throw away the refuse, what you can't use.
Or their intention. Like some people are haters for the sake of being hateful and knowing, and they might be jealous. They might not like you succeeding. And so they just want to bring you back down and understand that that's definitely the bone, right? Not the meat.
Right. But another thing that I do, I try to listen to motivational speakers every single day, because there's a lot of negativity that's tearing you down and beating you up. You have traffic and you have bills and you have grown up adulting things that you have to do. So if you can replace those toxic thoughts or unhelpful thoughts with something that's positive, affirmations and positive content and positive information. That's why I always laugh when people do two things. Number one, they say, I need to get off of social media for a couple weeks. I need to get away from social media. I don't, because I only have positive things coming through my social media. Only positive. I have two. I have a positive one, and then I have one with like silly foolishness. But for the most part, I stay on the positive one, and there are quotes, there are videos, there are touching content and different things to build up my soul. But if I have a lot of foolishness, what do I gain from that? So I don't need a break. And then the other thing, people say they don't pick up numbers that they don't recognize. I always pick up, because you don't know if someone's phone died and they need you to pick them up, if they're stranded, if their car broke down, or whatever the case. So I pick up all the numbers. And once I find out who's on the other end, we either keep talking or I hang up.
I like your attitude. That's true. I mean, I think we're so overwhelmed. We don't open emails. We don't answer phone calls. We're just really overwhelmed with so much coming at us. But like you said, if you filter it and you surround yourself with positive content coming your way, whether it's in your email inbox or on your social media feed, then you're not going to be so overwhelmed enough to take a break.
Right, right. And the same thing with the phone number. Somebody could be in distress, and there is one good Samaritan out there that lets someone use their phone. Hey, Dr. Nafisa, it's me, Nichol. Oh, I don't know this number. I'm not picking up.
I guess my excuse with that, because my phone is also where it's for work. If they leave a message, I always get back. I mean, that's my commitment to the world, is if I get a message, I will always respond to it.
Okay. That's great. That's great.
But I mean, yeah, as far as my phone, it has to be on silent because it rings all the time. So
No, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. But I look at it, and if it has the same prefix as a scammer, of course I don't pick it up. But if it's a number that I'm curious about, I pick it up. If it's a bot, then I just hang up.
right. I mean, it was like a second of your day, right?
Right. That's the few times that I hear my phone.
And I'm not the type of person that's attached to my phone either. So my phone could be anywhere. And I'm like, if there's a message, I will respond to it. I don't need to be attached to it 24/7.
Yeah, I don't do that. I have other things to do. And that's another thing with being overwhelmed. I'll just do a social media detox and not be on for a while. But it's not like I'm an addict and I need to be on it. But because I'm on Clubhouse, and a lot of people have been saying that they've had bad experiences on Clubhouse. I haven't. I've been insulated in different environments where everything's been going great.
I think it's your outlook, though. I mean, like, was it Einstein that said, if you believe this is a hostile universe versus a friendly universe, both cases you'd be correct. It's whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for hostility and negativity, you're going to see plenty of it. But if you focus on the positive and looking for the touching and the heartwarming and the great experiences, then you're going to see that as well. And it's all about what we want to focus on. I mean, that's why I'd say pay attention. We literally are making a payment to what we're focusing on, right? And then that's what we're going to see more of.
Yes, that is absolutely a gem. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So I know that you mentioned Nick's Notables. You said that you created that. And can you tell me more about what that is besides you taking notes every day? And what are you hoping to, who are you hoping to reach, and what message are you hoping to send with your Instagram page?
So with Nick's Notes, it's me just being in the right place at the right time, learning things that other people don't know or not experiencing, or just wouldn't be privy to the information that I get. So it could be information about brain health. It could be information about nutrition. It could be information about anxiety. It could be information about business. There are a myriad of things that I've looked into. I have a whole PowerPoint presentation on your civic duty, and it talks about the Electoral College and breaks down just so much. I've just always been a learner, and I know a lot of people that don't read books, not even listen to it on Audible. So I've been kind of like the bridge over troubled daughters, where I get the information and then I provide it back. So I'm just hoping to enlighten someone. I'm not on there every day. If anything, I've been putting things in on my story about my daughter or my son or something. But for the most part, at the very bottom, up until maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, it's been a lot of inspirational, positivity, coaching, different perspectives, just a lot of how you and I are having this dialogue today. It's just been in a concentrated format, either in a visual picture or in a video. And one person told me, and I've always been fascinated with imagery, told me that I'm a light. And when people are in a cave, they put their hand up to deflect the light. But for me, it takes a while for their eyes to adjust. So I've always tried to put images up there on my Instagram and have the words speak to what the images are.
Wow, what a great thing to do. I mean, like you said, there's so many, you sound like you're such a ferocious, hungry reader and knowledge seeker. And you're just, like you said, you've dedicated your whole life to learning as much as possible. And that can take us in many different directions. And why not share it once you have that information? Somebody could benefit from it.
Yeah, I was hoarding information. And so I would just tell a couple of people. And so one of my friends said, "What are you doing with all this information that you have? You're always taking notes. You're always writing down." Like I would be in church taking a bunch of notes or in meetings. And in the meeting at work, a lot of people are asleep or trying not to fall asleep. And if I hear something that I never heard before, I write it down and see where I can apply it. And so I've done that with Nick's notes, taking different information, a lot of visuals, a lot of graphics. I wish I could do more with like professional videos, but I just been doing a little bit of talking, and I realized that people want to connect with me and not with the information. But the information and the imagery is what I'm trying to portray.
Well, the videos are just around the corner for you. I can see it.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
I also noticed that you support teen moms. Can you tell me a little bit about that work and then how you support these young women?
So I haven't been around any teen moms since pre-pandemic, but I helped moms with budgets, helped them with parenting coaching, helping them to be a little more patient, because I saw a lot of teen moms that reminded me of my own mom, and just to relax a little bit. The child didn't ask to be here. And at the end of their childhood, you're going to be held responsible for your contribution to society. And think about things that you like and things that you don't like. And you're your child's first teacher. So you're modeling even when you aren't interested in being a model. So I worked with moms for about, I want to say 3 years. I had a lot of mentees at my job, mentees at church, and just explaining to them what I knew to be a good mom, a lot of quality time, a lot of being patient, teaching, responding, and teaching these moms. I was teaching the moms parenting skills as well as adult skills. Like a lot of them didn't know about budgets and financial literacy. They didn't know about household items and how to cook and where to pay their bills to, and the importance of keeping receipts and different things like that. So I just told them everything that I thought they should know coming out of high school and coming home with a baby from the hospital.
Somebody has to tell them all that because you don't learn that in school. You just have
No.
to get it. And a lot of them might not have moms to teach them like you didn't, but you're being that mother figure to them as well.
Yes, kind of like a big sister. I just wanted to, kind of show them the ropes. Here, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. And I started doing that when my daughter was about 3. And everybody says she's so well mannered and she's so quiet. And how could she come in? Because I'm a board member for my county. And the very first board meeting, I took her with me. And they said, wow, she's really well behaved and she's sitting here and she's not being a distraction or anything. And I said, well, we have training in our house before we take the show on the road. And so everyone commented on how she was. And then we met my son because my son was in college and he came home on break. And so I brought my son and they was like, wow, this is your son? I've been talking to him. He's so mature. He's so grown up and so advanced in his years. But because it was him and I in my 20s, I'm not going to say he didn't have a childhood because he went out and played with his friends. But he told me, and this is what my son said, this is my son's wisdom. I gave him a backpack and packed everything with every possible life lesson in his backpack. And he's walking around as a nomad looking for, when do I apply the stick and when do I use the magnifying glass and when do I use the flashlight? I know I have a poncho in here. When do I use the poncho? So he said I've equipped him with every possible life lesson way before he needed it. And I just thought that was funny.
Wow, what an amazing story. That's incredible. And like you said, that is your legacy, how what you left with your kids and what they take away from it.
Yeah, so I thought it was very beneficial to share that with other moms. I tried to, because committed to learning, I wanted to tutor infants because I started teaching my daughter and my son when they were about 6 months old. So I wanted to tutor infants. And then I was like, that could probably get chaotic and there's some liabilities and safety and all of that. How about I just help the parents and the parents can replicate what I'm doing with their own children at home? That's a better idea.
Well, I have a lot of parents that want to bring their really young children to me to fix them. And it's like, I would be much more effective. And I will tell them this, instead of me sitting here doing therapy with a 4-year-old, I would be much more effective teaching you as the parent how to work with your 4-year-old than me trying to do talk therapy or even play therapy with a 4-year-old. And it's that connection. Like I was able to work with my daughter at 6 months old because I had that connection. And it's the parents' connection is what's going to help that child improve their behavior and do what they need to do instead of a stranger coming in and telling this kid for half an hour or however long, once a week. That's not going to be as productive.
Right.
So knowing what you know now about everything that you've gone through and your experience with your mom dealing with trauma, what advice would you have to that little Nichol when she was, 5 or 6 or even a teenager? What advice would you have for your younger self?
I would just tell myself, you are enough. Just keep pushing. And God created you for a specific purpose. The things that he wanted in you, he deposited. And the things that he didn't want in you, you don't have. He didn't want you to be a singer. He didn't want you to be a dancer or a fancy chef or even a hairstylist. What he put in you is what he wanted you to do. And all of your experiences and everything that you're going through, you're going to grow up to be the person that you needed when you were a child.
Oh, that's beautiful. And none of your experiences have gone to waste or will go to waste, I guess, when you're talking to your little kid.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the enlightenment. Thank you for working with me on this. This has been wonderful. A great experience.
Oh, I've loved talking to you. Where can people connect with you and learn more about what you do?
My website is under construction. However, they can send me an email to nixnotables@gmail.com. Also, my Instagram is the best way because you can send messages. You can even video call through Instagram. I just found that out. So, but if people send an email or even on the Instagram, you can book an appointment and set up time to talk to me and we can chat. And I do trauma incident reduction. I also do interview preparedness, helping people to get the confidence to land the job that they want. There are a lot of people that aren't working, but there are so many more that are working and are hiring. And
Right.
then parenting coaching, teaching moms and dads how to be the parent that you wish you had.
And you're also on Clubhouse. So if they're on Clubhouse, they can follow you there as well, right?
Yes, on Clubhouse, my name is, I messed up, but it's Anxiety Coach. And then there's a dash, and then there's Nichol. And you'll see my picture, the one that goes with this bio.
Okay. Well, for all those that are on Clubhouse, they can follow you on there. But thank you again for making the time to come in and talk to me and having this conversation. It was so much fun.
Thank you. It was a great pleasure. It was a joy. Anytime that we can collaborate and work together, I'm so happy to do it. It's so honored. You have a wonderful spirit.
Thank you. And I'm glad you said yes.
I say yes to everything.
Well, I'd like to think that it was for a different reason.
But I said yes to you first because I just was so intrigued. I was like, Dr. Nafisa? So I was excited. So yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wonderful. Well, thanks again. This was so fun. I really appreciate all that you shared, and I hope people benefit from it.
I hope so as well. That's what I try to do. Try to see who can I help? What can I do to assist? Helping and not hurting.
Yeah, exactly. All righty. Well, you have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Nichol is such an inspiration with the wisdom and insight she brings to her own traumatic past. A sense of humor can definitely take us far in life, but putting it all in perspective can heal us. To learn more about Nichol, visit transforminganxiety.com/39. When you're there, go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts about this episode. If you haven't already, you can show support for the Mental Health Break podcast by subscribing wherever you're tuning in from today. We have some great interviews lined up, and you don't want to miss a single episode. Subscribe today so you get notified when new episodes drop. I can't wait to see you here next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.